been a little while since my last update, and as I mentioned in the previous video, my days of finding 10 or more big-ear birds in a single day is pretty much over until spring migration or until I do some serious traveling. However, there have been a few exciting birding days since the last video. On January 16th, I had a couple of house finches visit my feeder, a male and a female. I was hoping they would bring in some purple finches, but no luck. On January 17th, my daughter and I visited McGee Creek State Park in southeast Oklahoma in search of brown-headed nuthatches and pine warblers, but no joy. It was cold and very windy, and the gusty winds made it quite difficult to hear any bird calls. But the day wasn't a total bust. My daughter had quite a few pine siskins visiting her feeders. Then, at the park, I added a greater roadrunner, a hairy woodpecker, and a Carolina wren. Additionally, another high point was finding a winter wren. I'd already seen a few this year, but this was quite interesting. This bird was in wide open piney woods, whereas most that I've seen were in dense cover. I observed the bird for a while and noted how it flew from pine tree to pine tree, searching the base of each one for food, most likely dormant insects and spiders. I can't say exactly why, but it searched the trees mostly at ground level and never went higher than about 7 or 8 inches on the trunk. Just a hunting preference, I suppose. I thoroughly enjoyed observing this bird and got a kick of how bold it was. It had gotten used to me being near, but when I got a little too close, it flew to a nearby rock and scolded me. I certainly got a laugh out of that. This tiny bird with a big attitude is fast becoming my favorite wren. In this photo, note how it is shaped like a ball, and also note how short the tail is versus the Carolina wren. And before leaving, we were scanning some ducks on the lake when my daughter saw this river otter. What a treat that was. When my daughter and I visited Lake Overholser and Lake Hefner in Oklahoma City earlier in January, a trip I featured on this channel, it was prior to a big Arctic blast that affected much of the United States. I told my daughter then that I was curious as to what birds might visit those lakes after the Arctic weather moved through. Typically, many birds that stay farther north in the winter will show up at the lakes after severe winter weather moves through. And this year, it was tundra swans. They showed up at many places around Oklahoma, including Lake Hefner. A group of 7 was reported there a few days before we were able to visit again. We crossed our fingers that they would remain at the lake until we had time to visit, which was January 18th. We arrived and it appeared they may have left or relocated. However, a careful scan across the lake revealed the swans, which were blending in with the ice buildup on the opposite bank. I love observing wild swans. Domestic swans are beautiful as well, but there is something so majestic about wild birds. Strangely enough, the first wild swan I ever observed was a mute swan, which are almost certainly the most domesticated species of these birds. It was absolutely stunning. Its massive size dwarfed the Canada geese with which it was hanging out. I was taking photos of this bird, a young male, when it decided to take off and did about a dozen flybys. If I recall correctly, it had to run on the water's surface for about 30 yards or so before actually taking flight, and the sound its massive wings made was overwhelming. It honestly sounded like a jet airplane taking off. Certainly a day I will never forget. Back at Lake Hefner, the swans were getting ever closer when someone decided to get out of their car, and it sent the swans floating back to where they started. For those who don't know, a car is an excellent bird blind. And while at the lake, we also saw some first-of-year ringneck ducks and canvasbacks. Additionally, we later located several redheads and, before leaving, 3 Thayer's gulls, which were lifers for me and my daughter. Note how the bills are noticeably smaller than herring gulls, and also note the more rounded heads. After that trip, I didn't bird a whole lot for about 10 days or so, mostly due to the nasty winter weather, which was cold and rainy. However, while it wasn't exactly planned, I had a great day of birding on January 28th. Hello everybody, I am on my way to Hagerman National Wildlife Refuge in North Texas. There's been a long-tailed duck reported here for close to a week. It wasn't reported yesterday, so it may have left. We'll see. I didn't want to make a special trip to see it. I really can't afford that. But I have some business in Texas today, so I thought I'd swing by here now and see if maybe I can find it. And I did locate the long-tailed duck, which is an immature male, and it was in the middle of a fairly large body of water. It was very active and out there living its best life. It would venture close to the shore from time to time, but set sail for the middle anytime a vehicle got close, so this was the best footage I could get. But I did get to add the bird to my big year list, and I was in a hurry, so I had to go. However, before seeing the long-tailed duck, a sharp-shinned hawk flew in front of me. By the time I got my camera up and working, the bird was a mile away, so here's an awful photo. But trust me, it's a male sharp-shinned hawk.
See, there's Swarthout's name. If this were at all legible, you'd see what I meant.
Then, as I was passing the entrance to a nice neighborhood near Dallas, I happened upon a large female Cooper's hawk. From a distance, it looked like a red-shouldered hawk, but as I passed, it was plain as day what it was. I quickly turned around and got some so-so photos and shaky video footage. I was kind of parked where I shouldn't have been, because there was no other place to park, so getting anything good was out of the question. And I'd been having problems with my camera, which got worse on this day. The shutter was a bit sluggish, which led to soft photos. I later figured out what was wrong with it, but most of the photos that day were soft. Later, I was near a hackberry tree in Dallas photographing cedar waxwings eating hackberries when this brown creeper flew in and became big ear bird number 103. On my way back home, a male northern harrier flew over the highway, too fast to mess with getting a photo. Then I passed some blackbirds on a wire. I couldn't see them well enough for a complete ID, but the long, thin tail certainly pointed towards Brewer's blackbird. The highway was fairly desolate, so I went ahead and turned around and went back. And they were Brewer's blackbirds, all right. Big ear bird number 105. I couldn't get great photos as I was once again in a place where I couldn't park, so I had to get what I could. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Thank you.